Hello, ladies and gentlemen, veterans, dedicated VA employees, everybody watching. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about VA disability. This is our second and last special video for the week outside of our normal Tuesday videos where we discuss VA disability. As mentioned before in the other video, these special videos are because the Office of Inspector General for the VA issued 2 reports this week about errors in processing PACT Act claims. The first video was done about denials and service connection claims, and this one will be more associated with survivor benefit claims. So before I get too deep into it, for those who don't know, I am attorney Matthew Lang. I'm a VA accredited attorney with years of experience with the VA inside the walls of the VA and outside here. The report we're going to talk about today, I'm going to link below, but if that doesn't work, understand you can always go to the OIG's website, VA's OIG's website to access these reports. These are public for everybody to read. This one's titled "Survivors Did Not Always Receive Accurate Retroactive Benefits for Dependency and Indemnity Compensation Claims Reopened under the PACT Act." For short, we're going to call this benefit DIC. It's the common acronym used and what's known by, and just to be honest, it's very easy to say DIC instead of Dependency and Indemnity Compensation. The OIG does lay out a quick little summary of what DIC benefits are. I'm just going to read that to you so we have a basic foundation of that. DIC is a monthly benefit paid to eligible survivors of service members who died in the line of duty or whose death resulted from a service-related injury or illness. Now, the PACT Act came out and actually helped broaden the scope for even survivors' claims as well as veterans' service-connected claims. We got to remember that the PACT Act added locations and conditions to it for toxic exposures, and this toxic exposure world is kind of shaken up right now in the VA. So I think that creates some misunderstanding and in certain claims and so forth. But I don't think that was really the highlight of the OIG report in this case. There's definitely some indication in here that there were exam issues again in not getting an exam or opinion when they should to verify before denying, and utilizing incomplete, inadequate medical opinions by the VA to deny survivor benefits as well. I'm going to leave those ones alone. I think I beat that one up quite a bit yesterday, or not yesterday, but previous video. So we're going to leave that one there for now. But what I want to touch on in this report is another huge issue in errors, and I think this one is a little bit more complex in the level of understanding, and that's the effective dates of different claims. So when we talk effective dates, without going too deep in the weeds in this video, we're talking about a series of rules and laws that either grant a benefit from a date of claim or from another date specified within the law. One thing that we run into is with the PACT Act is something that I'm going to refer to as liberalizing law. The idea is that the law has changed. The law has created a point where now we can say veterans and survivors in general here, this isn't, again, it's more complex, but in general that the law here in the PACT Act in August of 2022 gives you 1 year to file a claim associated with the PACT Act. If granted, the claim isn't the day claim anymore. It comes back to the date the law changed. That's a very general basic of it all. But when we start talking DIC claims, there's laws that help us go beyond even that at this point. My argument usually, and just to throw it out there in the public and how well it's received, it may or may not be, I guess, well received. But the idea is when we look at law isn't always caught up to probably where it should be in most cases. So when we look at claims where the facts are all there originally, but they're denied because they didn't fit that, say in this case, presumption piece, to later grant, I think, the benefit 10, 20, 30 years or even a year later is really damaging to the survivor and the veteran, because the facts were always the same and we're really punishing them for not having the law where it probably should have been. But what I do again like about the DIC claims is that they do have that option of going back, really back to that original date of claim. In particular, the example I'll show is when that claim is within 1 year of the passing of the veteran. So now again, that is very, very general in effective dates. There's definitely a lot more rules and exceptions in that realm we can look at. But I think that was one huge piece here that the OIG really got at, and that was very crucial to these errors, especially errors that created underpayments for survivors. The estimate from the OIG in their sampling was $33.1 million that was underpaid. That means $33.1 million that should have been paid to survivors never reached them on those newly granted claims that were associated with the PACT Act. It's a big number. It's a big number. But again, let's look at these examples down here. Now, the OIG does list out some manual references in here when it comes to effective dates. They list other rules and regulations and laws as well. I think that's what's great about these reports, so that you can go back and kind of look at those and hopefully understand some of it. But again, very complex section. But let me look at one example here that the OIG uses that I think helps show some of the issues that I just kind of briefly mentioned here when it came to the effective date of it all. So in their example 3 here underneath impact errors, it states this. In 2011, a veteran died with diabetes mellitus and prostate cancer as contributing causes of death. The veteran served in Guam during a period when herbicide exposure is presumed. The VBA received the surviving spouse's DIC claim on June 14th, 2012, within 1 year of the veteran's death, and the VA denied the claim, and service-connected death was not established. Now, the VA would have denied the claim because at the time, even though the prostate cancer and the diabetes mellitus were on the presumption list for herbicide exposure, the location may not have been there. It was likely not there, as I recall. It wasn't there at all. But the PACT Act put the location in there now. So in 2023, the spouse submitted a decision review request form to reopen the claim with a statement citing the PACT Act. Based on the updated PACT Act criteria, VBA granted the claim and assigned an effective date of the law change, August 10th of 2022. However, because the spouse claimed DIC reevaluation based upon the PACT Act and originally filed a claim within 1 year of the veteran's death, the effective date should have been November 1, 2011, the first day of the month of death. So therefore, the spouse was underpaid $165,452. So I think if I'm going to put an argument out there that helps with any sort of training and understanding of some of these effective dates when they get crazy, just using that example alone, I think it's good to note that we got to be careful not to be blinded by just one piece of the law. I understand just even from training in the VA that it's very common to go, this was the law change, we can't go any further. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you all kinds of arguments and almost any type of claim to say that that may not be the case. And I think it's very well demonstrated here by the OIG's example. The facts of the case weren't different. If this law would have been in effect at that time originally when it probably should have been, the veteran's survivor would have received that grant and that benefit instead of being denied. So we got to look backwards too and see if there's something else we can grab a hold of. The idea here that I always learned in the VA is to help the veterans as much as I can within the scope of the law, and is what was my position within the VA as a fiduciary of the government. But I think this is one crucial part where we can definitely help VA and definitely help veterans more, is by remembering law is not quite so black and white. You don't have to stop right there. See if you can find what else we got back there. And and I think we can in many cases, look back through the rules and regulations. But I think that's a crucial piece, and I'm imagining that's where most of a lot of those errors occurred, because that's the big example they use when it comes to effective dates. It was the idea that I'm making the assumption via you got stuck on the liberalizing law issue, the date of the law, and you didn't look at the idea that there's other rules that could go back. So I think that's crucial there, and would be helpful to look at in making sure that these are done correctly on the effective dates. Again, plenty of other examples in here. I don't want to bore you to death on those. Everybody's able to read those, I assume. So I would look at these examples, understand the issues that occurred here, both VA and veterans, because veterans, and you can help teach your family as well. So when the day comes and they've got to file that survivor benefit, then there's some understanding of what to look for there as well. And even the survivors, share it with the survivors to understand. They may still have a claim out there that's not being paid correctly. They may have a claim that they need to reopen that they haven't done as well, for survivor benefits that got denied. I always recommend, especially in issues of more complex issues, that veterans and survivors and the families out there, that you do seek a representative who understands these rules really well, can spot these issues really quick, like myself, like any other accredited attorney, many agents out there who are accredited, and VSOs as well. So if at any time you think the effective date you have that was assigned for a grant of benefits is incorrect, search us out. You can find me at veteranlang.com for a free case evaluation if you like, or walk into a local VSO office, or maybe another attorney that's in your area that you prefer to talk to. They can help you out. Maybe they can actually represent you in your claim and get you the benefit you're entitled to in the end. But I'm not going to beat up this report as much. There's a lot of description in here. There's some notification issues. It looks like that might be in here too, some understanding. These are just issues, unfortunately, that do kind of get lost in interpretation depending on who passes the rule, the law, or whatnot. Whether the court says, hey, you got to do this, or Congress says you got to do this. They don't always give the clearest of guidance. I get it. But I think the effective dates are the huge part here for everybody to really grasp, because that seems to be the biggest error in here, along with the understanding of what TARA is and how the PACT Act applies to all that. But we'll get into those weeds another time. That's going to be a whole another video there. So anyhow, everybody, I appreciate you coming back to the special video here. Just the channel in general. My idea here, again, is always to build a platform where we can just have an open discussion. We can agree, we can disagree. That's what's great about life, and we can still be friends in the end, and learn something from each other. So I wish you a fantastic weekend, and see you next Tuesday.